Hi, welcome back to the channel, Michelle, and today I'm going to be doing our mid-year check-in. It's weird to think that the school year is already half over, but we're a little bit more than half over, so I thought it'd be a great time to do a update video on how things are going. So for this video, it's going to be my preschooler, my 3.5, almost 4-year-old, and my 7-year-old who does first/second grade, mostly first grade work. So I'm going to start with my preschooler. So he's been doing the Letter of the Week curriculum by Confessions of a Homeschooler. And the only reason we've been doing that is because it's what I did with my 2 older kids. So I had everything on hand and I didn't have to prep anything. I literally just pull things out of a binder on Saturday, put it in his folder, and we do the activities throughout the week. So that has been going really well. And this is his binder here. So we have made it to letter, let's see, next week will be R. So we're on letter R with him, and it's been going, like I said, really well. One thing that's worked really well is having him go first in the mornings. So usually school starts around 9 a.m. and with him, I start around 8:30 or 8:40 because it only takes about 20 minutes a day, Monday through Thursday, to get his work done. So that has worked really well. He sits down, he's most attentive. He doesn't have an issue sitting for schoolwork, and that actually really surprised me when I started homeschooling him because he's very rambunctious and full of energy. He really enjoys it, and he's the one that really was the catalyst to being like, Mom, I want to start now, because my original plan was to wait an entire year until he was 4 to start preschool. But he was raring to go, and he showed me this, that he's, especially halfway through the year, he's done really well. He has the focus, he's ready for it. So an important lesson, don't listen to what everybody tells you, listen to what your kids are ready when they're telling you they're ready. So we've been doing the letter tiles again. These are the Montessori sandpaper tiles, and we do go over the letters we've gone through. So we do A through Q so far, and we'll go through letters and the letter sound, and that works really well for him. And I do switch it up. I don't always do it like flashcard style. Sometimes if we're in a rush, or his sisters are ready to go, then I'll just do it like that. But sometimes I'll just put a couple out and I'll have him find it. We'll do like a scavenger hunt, find something with that letter. So I do switch it up for him to make it more fun. But I would have to say halfway through his preschool year, he knows a handful of letter sounds. He can identify them pretty well at this point, but the sounds he isn't really strong with, which is completely fine. He started this when he was 3, so I don't expect him to master letter and letter sounds by the end of this preschool year. He will definitely have another preschool year next year. So this is more just exposure, getting him used to routine, and letting him have fun with different activities. So, like I said, he hasn't mastered letters at all. I don't want to give you the impression that my 3.5-year-old can go through A through Q and tell you the exact letter sounds. I'm sure there's some kids that can do, but this isn't to be like, oh, look what my kid can do. It's that it's okay for them to build upon their skills. So when I'm talking about this, please don't think that he knows all those letters. No, he probably can tell me 3-4 letter sounds out of all the ones we've gone from memory, not without me prompting him. But letter recognition he does really well with, and same with number recognition. We've only done numbers 1 through 10 so far, and that has gone pretty well. And again, he hasn't mastered 1 through 10. Sometimes he'll do it perfectly. Sometimes he'll go from 3 to 7, 8, 9, 10. So again, it's not perfect, but he does enjoy his little binder here. And he has a coloring page. These are all sheet protectors. I do have him do the tracing for the letters on here. We stopped at 20. He also has his shapes that he does as well. And those are daily activities. And like I said, he will just take his folder with the letter activities he has for the week, and we will go through them. Some of the things he's really enjoyed doing is the letter tracing. He really enjoys the cutting pages, the cut and paste pages. He enjoys any of the puzzles. One of the things he really enjoys is the searching for the letters in there. So again, letter recognition, he's working on all the important skills he needs to through these different activities, and that's going really well. Like I said, one of his favorites is the cut and paste pages. So this is O for owl, this is P, and we did Winnie the Pooh stickers on it. And this was the last one he did, which was Q, and he did the Christmas stickers we have. So different activities like that. It's going well for him. We did take a pause on this book for December just because we had a lot going on, and I really wanted him to work on his number recognition before we continued with the games, but I plan on bringing this back in January. It's been going really well. And he, of course, has his number tiles. So the only thing I'm really focusing on this second half is we'll finish the letter of the week curriculum. We'll hopefully get 1 to 10 numbers down and then just work on the letter recognition and sounds. But I don't expect a ton from him. He's only 3.5, will be 4 in a couple months here, so he has plenty of time. One thing we did change was he used to do preschool story time at the library, and he's done that for years because my middle daughter, who is now 7, did it as well for many years, so he would always tag along with her, and he just seemed somewhere around probably November to lose interest in it. I don't know if he was just kind of over it since he's done it for a couple years, but usually in the middle of the program he'd be like, can we go home? I want to go home. So I said, sure, yeah, if you don't want to continue this, we don't have to. I feel like a lot of homeschoolers feel a pressure to have their kids in all these activities or extracurriculars, and it's not necessary. Not all kids are that type of kid. And he participates in our co-op, he participates in our Lego League. He's in all these little facets of our homeschool. He doesn't need to do this part if he doesn't want to, and I'm completely fine gaining that, 2 hours back of my week to do other things. So that is one thing we've made. He no longer does preschool story time. But like I said, his progress has been great. We will continue working on the things we have worked on, but he will be my first child that will be doing 2 years of preschool, and it could be because he's probably the youngest I've had that started. My oldest daughter probably started closer to 3.5, 4. My middle child started homeschooling at 4, and then he started at 3. So yeah, he's got plenty of time, but he's been going really well. So now I'm going to switch over to my 7-year-old. So for her, things have been going really well as well. I'm going to start with math. She's been loving dimensions, Singapore dimensions math. She is almost done with 1B. Her favorite thing she's done so far is fractions. She's one that really enjoys mental math, but she can also visually see shapes, three-dimensional objects. She's really good with that in her head. She really loves to build things and create things and like recycling. I remember once I asked her to go clean her room, and after about 45 minutes I was like, what is she doing? I go up there. Instead of cleaning her room, she devised an entire pulley system that she put on her dresser to transport her Barbies from the floor all the way up. And I was like, okay, can you clean your room now? But she's just that kind of mind that works really well with that. So she's really been enjoying fractions and flying through that. One thing we've been doing is this Thriving with ADHD Workbook for kids. Got this off Amazon. And she, if you did not know, she was diagnosed this past year with ADHD, not a surprise for us. She also has celiac disease, which is an autoimmune condition. And usually celiac disease and ADHD are pretty common together. So again, I wasn't shocked with that. But I have to say, this book has really helped both her and I. So it has a lot of prompting things and questionings, like self-reflection questions, which I think really helps her. So she goes through and discovers what she's good at, what things work for her. Scheduling. One thing we recently went over is visual scheduling. What would help her, because executive functioning is something a lot of people with ADHD struggle with, and something she definitely struggles with. So finding strategies that work for her brain, because all brains are unique. Just because you have ADHD does not mean this one tool will work for you. And it gives a lot of different options in here. She'll go through and circle different options, like would listening to music help you, or would that distract you? What specifically works for her brain, and also it's giving me more insight into how her brain works and how best to approach different things, because again, I'm very neurotypical. My oldest was very neurotypical as well. So this is my first child dealing with a different kind of brain makeup. So I find it helpful for me as well as her. She's really been enjoying it. She brings this book out every day we do school and is excited to do it. So she finished up Handwriting Without Tears. So what I had her move into was this practice book volume 1 from Harcourt. So we do have the reader books that go with this. I'll link up above. I got them a while ago, first grade readers. I got trophies and journeys readers. And then I also bought this, and it's kind of just like a almost explode the code type thing. And it has different activities. So I have her doing this for handwriting and phonics practice every day, just because this entire book was only a couple dollars. And it, as you can see, it covers multiple books that we've read, and it has different activities, so it's not always the same activity. And I figured that if I end up using the trophies and journeys books with my youngest son, I can just buy this for a couple more dollars. She can write in it, it's fine, but she's been enjoying that. So into language arts. So for language arts, she does 2 things. She does all about reading level 2, and she is almost done there, and she has been making progress. I've talked about in the past that she struggles, especially with her ADHD and focus. Reading takes a lot of concentrated focus, and I can see it's very mentally taxing for her to read like a paragraph and try to remember that, and the ADHD book has helped with that. Also, some of your suggestions have really helped with that, so I appreciated talking about, you know, trying different color-coded lines for her to focus, or just following along with her. So thank you for those suggestions. If you ever have suggestions, please let me know. Again, this is a new area for me, so I'm always open for your guys' suggestions, but she's really done well. She read during this past, before we went on winter break, she read like an 8-page book, and in All About Reading, they're long pages. And she's learned techniques to, when she starts to get that mentally tired or distracted, that what she can do. One of the things she's noticed that when it gets difficult or frustrating for her, that she just needs to take a brain break. She gets up, she moves her body, gets some water, whatever works. Also, sometimes I will prompt her if I see her kind of struggling. Be like, I think it's time for a brain break. Let's take a brain break. She'll come back to it and do really well and fly through it. But a lot of this is just figuring out how her brain works. Like I said, she does really well with math, and that comes easily to her. This is something that she really has to work on, because it does take a lot of that focus. One of the things I've noticed that I can almost see in her brain kind of the misfiring of connections, because she'll be sounding out a word or working through a word, and she'll say the wrong sound, and she knows it's wrong, and she'll correct herself, and she'll shake her head, and she's like, no, that's not right. So she's really training her brain to take the right roads in there and stop misfiring. So she's really having to control herself. I'm really proud of the progress she's made with that, learning what works for her body and being her own advocate. And because this is something she will need for the rest of her life to really function in a neurotypical world, how she will cope in these situations, what's in her toolbox to deal with that. So reading has been going well. It's something that she works on, and it's a struggle sometimes, but she perseveres. She keeps going. She has her tools at hand when she needs them. She's been reading the trophies and journeys books. I think we've made through 4 of these, so 4 of these. So she's on this one. You can see that's kind of how long, and she'll read the entire story in one setting. She'll read the entire story in one setting now, so that's nice. So again, she's making progress. Slower, but it's progress, and that's what's important. Not perfection, progress. The other thing she's doing for language arts is core knowledge language arts. Now, core knowledge has 2 sections. They have a listening and learning section, which is contextual knowledge, vocabulary, and then they have a skills section, which is like handwriting, phonics, reading instruction. We don't do the skills section. We only do the listening and learning section. There's nothing wrong with the skills section in core knowledge. We just have used this with my oldest. So we're using this because it works for us. I think either phonics program is fine. So we only do the listening and learning strand, and she loves it. She loves the stories. We did ancient China, we did ancient Greece, and we just finished Greek myths and going into the War of 1812. So again, like I always say about core knowledge, I love that she's getting this exposure to different things in history and science. I don't have to have a separate science for her because she's getting it through her natural language arts material. And we do separate science, and we do core knowledge for my oldest, and we do core knowledge science for my oldest, and she joins us for that. But I feel like she's getting enough science geared at her age in this, and she's getting enough history geared at her age at this. And I love that they're exposing history to younger kids. It's in age appropriate ways, it's in smaller chunks, but they can definitely understand the things that are going on now. One thing she really liked was learning about the Greek myths, and she got to make her own pictures of them. So we did Prometheus and Pandora. She made her pictures, and then I orally did some narration with her. I asked her to tell me information about that. So I do like that core knowledge has all these available. She got to write her own story, her own Greek myth, arachnid. So all of this information, and she does really retain it well and understand it. And because core knowledge builds upon itself every year, she's making these connections through her literature because we've done it for multiple years. And she even made a connection. We did Persephone, and she made a connection to a book she read about the same story, and she was able to do that, and she really liked learning about all the gods. Her favorite was Artemis. So that was a lot of fun. And again, it's open and go for me at this point because I've used it for so many years. But I like that it has contextual knowledge. I like that she's getting vocabulary exposure to it. So I love the core knowledge makes it capable of separating the skills and the skills and the listening and learning strand, because again, I don't need the skills section. I just need the listening and learning strand. But that's been going really well. It's something we will continue to do for her until it doesn't work. So the only other thing she's doing is Spanish, and we're using Song School Spanish. And she's doing really well. We took a break from it in December just because we had a lot going on and some unit studies and things like that, but she really enjoys Spanish. We also use the Mango Languages through our library, which is free, and it has different kid videos and instructions like that, but she enjoys just rattling off Spanish in her everyday life. And luckily I took enough Spanish in high school and college that I'm pretty good at it. I'm definitely not fluent in it. I'm better writing it and reading it. So I'm glad we have the instructional videos, but the songs are cute and fun, and it really works well with her brain with how to remember things. So the other thing she is doing, her extracurricular, is gymnastics, and she just did a holiday showcase of gymnastics, and it was really interesting because they did 3 different things. They did a vault routine, they did a beam routine, and they did a floor routine. She did really well with the vault routine and the beam routine, but the floor routine, so they only had a couple practices before they kind of did this, and it was only a couple minutes long, each activity, but they did it individually. So she's the youngest kid in her gymnastics class. They bumped her from the younger class because she had learned most of the skills necessary. So she was bumped up to the next class, so she was the youngest in there, and I knew the floor routine required a lot of remembering things, different moves, because they do different poses, different like cartwheels, different things. They have an entire routine they do. I knew she would need a lot of practice for just the way her brain works to be able to remember it. Remembering some things is, especially short-term things, are harder for her to remember. So I was curious to see how she was going to do for this floor routine, because there are some kids that didn't do it, that kind of freaked out and decided not to do it, which is completely fine. Never force your child to get out there and perform if they're not comfortable. So I'm curious to see how she was going to do, and she actually did really well. She got about halfway through the routine, completely forgot the rest, and I could see that she was starting to get upset, so I wanted to see where it was going to go with, and the coach went to the side and kind of coaxed her through the rest of the routine, but she didn't stop. She didn't freak out because, again, especially with ADHD, it's that fight or flight, that immediate sense of something's wrong, I'm in danger, I need to run. She didn't have that. She worked through it. She did the best she could, and she was fine. She didn't freak out. So that was a great moment for me. I'm like, okay, she's using the coping skills we've talked about to get through it and not melting down. So that was really great. She will continue gymnastics in the rest of winter and into spring, and we'll see what next year goes, but first half has been really, really well for both my preschooler and my 7-year-old. I'm really proud, again, of the work they're doing. You can see we don't make a lot of changes or switch things up. We buy the stuff that works for us. We persevere through it. When we struggle, we figure out why we're struggling and address that. But I'm not one to make a lot of curriculum changes because, one, can't afford it. Two, I think constantly changing things is going to lead to some knowledge gaps. And three, I think a lot of the reasoning people have issues or kids have issues with certain curriculum has nothing to do with the curriculum, but a lot to do with something else that's going on and figuring out what that is. So, like I said, we kind of keep everything the same around here. I know that can be kind of boring in these update videos that I'm saying, hey, they're doing great, everything's working. That is very, I guess, entertaining. But if you have any specific questions about how this year has gone or anything I talked about, leave them in the comments below. If not, thank you for watching.